Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to Crypto and Assets every Saturday. I'm saying good morning, but it depends on the part of the world you're at. If you're in the UK, it's the evening. If you're on the West Coast, it's early morning. So I appreciate you lot getting up to get some value. And, obviously we're in Texas, Dallas. This is Central Time, but I know some of you might be on the East Coast, Eastern Time, 1 p.m. So appreciate each and every single one of you hopping on to our Crypto and Assets weekly call. My name is Jean-Luc Ramdin. I've been in the market now for 5 years or so. Gil, my partner, he's been in the markets for 6 years or so as a trader and an investor. And so our goal here is to give you guys value upon the market, right? We're going to give you guys some game that you can take throughout this week and educate at the same time. So let's go ahead and get this call started. I am going to make sure that the lighting and everything is set up. I want to make sure that you guys can see me. So let me go ahead and just switch on this light here. Brilliant, brilliant. There we go. So I think it should be some more lighting on my face there, which is good. Amazing. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And you guys know how we start these calls, right? Put in the chat. Do you know how we start these calls? Like, what do we always start on? Yeah, for those of you who are a little bit more experienced on crypto and assets, there's a certain topic or thing we start on. And so for those of you who don't know, we always start these calls with the news. We start the calls with the fundamentals because they're so important. It's important to understand how the news is going to potentially affect the market because you want to keep up to date. And so we have four main points to discuss here. Hopefully you guys can see my screen. The very first point here is speaking about Tether. Now, we spoke about stablecoins now for a long time. And we've spoke about what stablecoins we prefer and also why we prefer those. And that's USDC. USDC over USDT. However, there was some news that came out about USDT, and that was that Tether saw a $1 billion profit in Q1. And they supposedly have $191 billion in reserves, which is just, an incredible, unsurmountable amount of money. And I want to show you guys the news article here, which touches on this, because as you know, we believe it's very, very important to do your research on as much of a credible source as possible. Now, I'm going to show you guys here. We like to go on Decrypt, as you guys know. And so Tether reports just over a $1 billion profit in Q1 for 2026. Now, when you see this piece of news, most people, and this is a really important key, it's a small detail, but it's really important. Most people are going to go, wow, so bullish. That is such positive news. My money in USDT is absolutely safe. They have a large proof of reserves. Guys, for those of you who don't know what a stablecoin is, let me just break that down. A stablecoin is an asset that is pegged one-to-one with the dollar. It's a safe haven for your crypto funds. So the way that it normally goes, to show you guys the flow of funds, the flow of money here, for those of you who are maybe more beginners, is let's say you have $1,000 in your bank account, in your Chase. You might put the $1,000 into your Kraken account or into your Coinbase, which is a centralized exchange where you can buy and sell crypto. And you don't want to put the 1,000 directly into Bitcoin, directly into Ethereum, directly into Chainlink. You want to put it in a stable coin. And then when you're ready to buy the crypto asset you want to buy, you then convert that stable coin asset of the $1,000 into the Bitcoin or the Chainlink or the Ethereum. That's how it works. And from that 1,000, you might only put in $500, right, into the crypto market. And you might keep 500 in your stable coin. Why? Because if the market goes up or down, if Bitcoin goes up or down, the funds in your stablecoin are always going to remain the same principal value. So if Bitcoin goes up 10%, that's a crazy percent. If it goes up 10%, let's say Bitcoin is $100,000. 10% of $100,000 is $10,000. Stay with me here. If Bitcoin goes up $10,000, which is 10%, the assets in your USDC or your USDT or your DAI, DAI, whatever it is, that's going to remain $500. That does not go up to $550. That does not go up 10%, the same as Bitcoin. So stable coins is the safe haven for your funds. Now, when Bitcoin drops 10% from $100,000 to $90,000, all of these other altcoins, these alternative coins, what do? Well, they drop even more than Bitcoin. They're going to drop 20%, 30% because they're more volatile. So when these altcoins drop 20, 30, 40%, guys, that $500 spare in USDC stablecoin, that's when you're going to convert that amount and put it into the altcoins, put it into the layer 2s and the layer 3s, because you're buying that asset at a discount. Now when Bitcoin goes up again to its value that it was before, or if it goes up 10% higher, well, yeah, those altcoins they're gonna rocket. And you're going to benefit from that appreciation, and you're going to see a nice ROI, a nice return on your investment. Put a 10 in the chat if that is making sense. Put a 10 in the chat if that flow of funds makes sense, right? Chase account into the centralized exchange, into the stablecoin USDC, some of the USDC assets into crypto when the market depreciates, when it falls down. Then you're going to dollar cost average, and then you've got your spare amount to go back into the market. You're going to benefit from ROI. That's how it works. So when you're going to see this news, Tether reporting an over $1 billion profit in Q1, over 190 billion in proof of reserves, just in case the market depreciates drastically. Sounds positive, right? But guess what? When you do your diligence, you're going to realize some stuff that is interesting. Because here's the thing, those Q1 figures that Tether reported, guys, they were not done by a Big Four accounting firm. They were not done by Deloitte, PwC, by EY, by KPMG. They were done by an Italian third party. Now, what does that mean? That means that the credibility is way lower, right? You're going to go to another country and use a small third-party service to audit your accounts, and then supposedly the accounts are so positive and it's so bullish. Well, guys, let me tell you something about this. What they did is they did not do an audit of Tether to release these results. They did something called company attestations. That's what they relied on. Now, let me tell you what that means. Company attestations, guys, is what they call a light review, and it's based on what Tether says is true about their finances. It's kind of like the government auditing their own government. How reliable is that? Do you see what I mean? So they relied on company attestations here and not a full audit, which means it's not really done by a credible independent third party. And also they're relying on what Tether, the actual company, are saying about their finances. It's not credible, guys. So the point I'm trying to tell you guys here is this news, I'm not saying it's untrue, but this is partially from the own company themselves reviewing themselves. Like, how reliable is that? Now, if they did a full audit by a Big Four accounting firm in the finance world, that's like very, very credible. That is, you can trust that, you can rely on that, because KPMG or Deloitte or anything is not going to mess around. They're not going to bend the rules. They're not going to be light. It's going to be a full, deep, independent review of their finances. So I wanted you guys to be aware of that. Like, just understand that not every big news article that sounds so bullish and incredible is the actual truth. Because I don't trust these numbers, and I don't trust it for the reasons that I just explained to you guys. So anyway, that's the first bit of news that I wanted to touch on. Now, let me go ahead and share my screen here. And that's really important game that I want you guys to read in between the lines, right? And just understand that. So the next piece of item, Cerberus is targeting a $4 billion IPO, potentially in Q4 2026. I think it's going to be Q4 2026, maybe Q1. And so Cerberus is a data AI-based company. And I want to show you guys the article here. Let me see. Here it is. Here it is. So I'm going to share my screen here and share my other screen. Okay, boom. So yeah, you should be able to see. Cool. So yeah, Cerberus is targeting a $4 billion IPO. And so Cerberus, they deal with AI chip makers. That is their main function. That's what they do. And this IPO is going to value the company at around about $40 billion. Now, an IPO is an initial public offering. It's where a company goes from being private to going public. When a company's private, the everyday person cannot buy shares within that company. They can't have an investment in their company unless they have equity or unless they managed to be an accredited investor and they were able to buy shares that way. But besides that, when the company goes public, this is when the everyday investor like me and you can buy shares. This is when we can have an investment. You can do that on Fidelity, you can do that on Charles Schwab, you can do that on many different brokerage firms, eToro. And so the reason why I want you guys to pay attention to this, because number one, it's a massive IPO, and number two, it's in the data AI space. And I found a couple of things interesting within this article, right? And so they run hardware models, hardware AI models, similar to NVIDIA, but they believe it's faster than NVIDIA. So you got to consider the competition when you're looking at an investment, right? I remember speaking to you guys about before investing in a company, think about the utility, like what it does, the use case. Think about the competition. Think about the partnerships, right? Like who's it partnered with, what brand deals, and also think about the founder and the team behind it. And then think about the communities, right? Think about, is there a strong online or in-person presence? So competition is one of those factors. And supposedly these AI models run faster than NVIDIA. And one of the big differences is that they actually run their own data centers, but NVIDIA doesn't. So these guys have almost full integration of their company and their processes, whereas NVIDIA doesn't. So this is one of the companies that I want you guys to pay attention to. I would definitely write that down, maybe for Q4 this year. I believe they've actually filed a formal, what's the term, like or something formal in order to start that IPO process. So I want you guys to keep an eye out for that. So I'm going to go ahead and share my other screen again. I'm going to get to the third point of the news today. So Gemini got approval to expand prediction markets, guys. Now, Gemini is an exchange. And so these guys, typically, a lot of the people in New York like to use Gemini. As you can see, it's a crypto exchange here. And so New York has very tight regulations on crypto, very strict. In fact, it's probably the strictest state in America when it comes to crypto regulation. I can't tell you why. Maybe it's something governmental. But the point is that Gemini are actually looking to expand their prediction markets. And so what does that mean? That means things such as Cowshy and those type of companies where you can bet and you can predict for things and ahead of time and, do sports gambling and betting and entertainment industry gambling. That's really what this is about. And we're seeing the popularity of that grow more and more and more. Just put a 5 in the chat, guys, if you know somebody who is involved in sports betting or in the prediction markets world. It's absolutely massive. Now, you integrate that market with crypto adoption and crypto capability, you're just talking multiple X's, guys, in this industry. It's going to continue to grow. So as you can see here, they got CFTC approval for a DCO license. Basically, all that means is that they now have the ability to keep things in-house, whereas previously they would have to source to an external third party for certain functions because they didn't have the regulations. Now they can keep that exactly in-house. And so DCO means Derivatives Clearing Organization. So I wanted to mention, not only are they expanding prediction markets, guys, but they're also looking at this. They're also looking at perpetual futures. Potentially expand into complex products like perpetual futures. This DCO license is going to allow them to integrate perpetual futures. And as traders, some of us are futures traders, some of us are CFD traders, some of us are, CFD means contract for difference. Some of us are, I don't know, maybe, hopefully not, but binary traders, right? And so this is just opening the floodgates for different types of traders to enter the market for Gemini. So I like Gemini's exchange, actually. I've seen it. I've not used it. But I will say that for me personally, Kraken is number 1 as a centralized exchange. I would say Coinbase is number 2, founded by Brian Armstrong. And I would say number 3, you've got like crypto.com and maybe Gemini, right? So there's various options when it comes to where do I buy and sell my crypto. An important distinction, guys, is a crypto exchange doesn't necessarily mean a crypto wallet. An exchange and a wallet are two different things. An exchange is where you can buy and sell crypto. You can sometimes trade crypto. But a wallet is where you can only keep crypto. It's where you can only hold crypto. So yeah, it is true. Like most wallets, like 90%, are forms of exchanges where you can directly buy and sell on there. But just want you to know that an exchange and a wallet is very, very different. So that was the third piece of news. The fourth piece of news, wow, this is interesting. So Meta are offering USDC creator payouts. That's wild. That's really wild, right? Like this had me very intrigued. And so I'm going to show you guys this article again from Decrypt, which touches on this. Meta launching USDC stablecoin creator payouts on the Solana and Polygon blockchain via Stripe. Now, why is this important? Number one, we've spoke about stablecoin adoption for many years now, like an ongoing conversation. And this has grown. We've seen companies such as PayPal. We've seen other, what I call, fintech or quasi-fintech firms who are integrating stablecoin capabilities. They're creating their own stablecoin, and they're also utilizing USDC, USDT, DAI, and other stablecoins. Now, why is this happening? Because of the recent legislations that are being passed through government on stablecoins, such as the Clarity Act, such as the Genius Act, such as the Anti-CBDC Act. The Anti-CBDC Act is anti-central bank stablecoin. Why? It prevents them from creating their own stablecoin. And that's brilliant because what we want is like free market. We don't necessarily want privatization. And that's a big difference. And so this is now being allowed in Colombia and Philippines only. So Meta are utilizing Stripe. And if you're a creator, you can now get paid in Colombia or Philippines on the Solana and Polygon blockchains, which is very, very interesting. Now, why do I also find this interesting? Because of this. In 2022, Meta, which by the way own Instagram and Facebook, in case you didn't realize, Meta tried in 2022 to start their own stablecoin. And it was called Dime, D-I-E-M. And it ended up being an absolute failure. They started the stablecoin project in 2019, and in 2022, they actually sold it for $200 million to a company called Silvergate because it absolutely flopped. They sold the assets and the IP, which is the intellectual property, to another company. Now, why am I mentioning that? Because that shows you 2019, 2022, we did not have the Clarity Act, the Genius Act, and the Anti-CBDC Act. We did not have clarity for companies on the regulation for creating their own stablecoins. Back then, it was a different market, guys. There wasn't as much institutional money. It was very, very early. And that's part of the reason why their project flopped. But guess what? 4 years later, from 2022 to 2026, what do we have? We have Meta officially allowing USDC payouts for creators. Do we think this is going to stay in Colombia and Philippines? Of course not. Guys, this isn't just going to be a South American, Asia type of deal. This is going to spread to more and more countries, to the point where, in my opinion, we're going to have people on Instagram and Facebook in the UK and in the USA getting paid in USDC stablecoin. I mentioned about Tether earlier, which is USDT, a different stablecoin, but look at the legitimacy with USDC right now. So this is something really interesting that I want you guys to pay attention to, because this is really bullish news for stablecoins, but also for USDC. And it shows you some of the largest corporations in the globe not only creating their own stablecoins, but are utilizing it and recognizing that people want to get paid in it. That's huge. That's huge. So it's now 12:25. And I'm going to show you guys one last thing before I pass it over to my boy Gil. And so I'm going to touch on these three stocks. Now, put a 10 in the chat if you guys have been interested in stocks recently. Put a 10 in the chat if this is something that you want to learn a little bit more about. Because some of us are in the community Powerhouse Zinrai, some of us are not. But I want you guys to be aware that Patrick Kenny on the platform, guys, he dives into stocks incredibly. It's really important that we have a portfolio that is a mixture, is a culmination of crypto, stocks, and potentially other forms of investments, whether it's a retirement fund or whether it's something more alternative, you name it. You can have an aggressive, a moderate, or a conservative portfolio. That's completely up to you, but it's important that you have a variety. Why? Diversification is key. You want to have stocks and cryptos that are large cap, mid cap, small cap. You want to have ones that are in different industries. Have a mixture. Have a mixture of blue chips like Amazon. Have a mixture of more fast growing industries such as in the green energy space or in the cannabis space, such as Tilray. You want to have a mixture of energy stocks. You want to have a mixture of companies such as Palantir in the tech space, Nvidia. It's important that we have a mixture of stocks and cryptos in the pie, right? And the reason why, by the way, just the reason for diversification is if one industry is down, like if the tech industry just like flops massively, then at least you have other forms of stocks that can perform okay or very well during that same period. And now your entire portfolio isn't down a lot. I mean, think about things such as defensive stocks or recession-proof stocks. There's industries such as cosmetics and makeup. Guys, that's an industry that doesn't flop in a recessionary period. That's an industry which, if interest rates are really, really high and people are struggling to pay back their loans, XYZ, and all the other industries are down, cosmetics normally stays up. Why? Because women want to look good. If there's a recession or a boom, it's irrelevant. The industry is still going to thrive. So you want to consider these things when you're looking to invest. So Mara, real quickly in the next 5 minutes, guys. Mara, let me dive into this. Give me one moment. Yeah, Mara is crypto mining. And so I think it's overlooked. Industries that are like behind the actual industry. So like if you're a crypto investor, have we ever considered what are the stocks, what are the publicly listed companies that are mining that crypto, that are allowing us to trade it and invest in it? Because, there's companies behind the industry and companies behind a company that you can invest in that still have that lag, that still haven't seen that jump or that big appreciation. And in my opinion, Mara is one of them. I'm going to see here if I can go to Yahoo real quickly. I can go to Yahoo real quickly. Put a 5 in the chat if you guys are getting some game. I hope you guys are learning one or two things. I know I'm going pretty quick. I'm aware. So some things might go over your head, but guess what? This is live and recorded. So you can actually go on YouTube and re-listen to this, re-watch this and take some notes. So let me go to Mara real quick. Mara Holdings. So this is a Bitcoin mining company. And so there are some pros and there are some cons. If you guys want to know transparently, some of the cons here, well, one of the cons, guys, is that it's very leveraged and it's very dependent on the performance of Bitcoin. Okay, that's one of the cons. Another con is that energy costs. To mine Bitcoin, guys, you're talking about big data centers, big devices that there's large energy consumption that it takes in order to mine it to allow us to buy, to sell, to trade. And so that's one of the negatives. One of the pros, though, guys, one of the pros about this is that this is a fast growing industry, 100%. And there was some positive news recently about Mara, which I wanted to mention to you guys. If I go on here, you guys are going to see just a simple search. What's a positive? Let me see something. Here we go. Yep. So they just completed a $1.5 billion deal with this company, Long Ridge Energy and Power. So they are expanding and they're expanding fast. So Mara is a company, guys, that I want you guys to pay attention to and be aware of. And by the way, this is something you can invest now. Like, this is a real stock. So that's the first one. The next one I want to talk about is Palantir. Oh my word. Guys, Palantir, I'm telling you, data management analytics company. Why do I like Palantir? I like the team behind it. I like the fact that this is a big pro, guys, big pro. One of their biggest clients is the US government. So they deal with security and data, and they utilize AI to do so. And the US government's one of their biggest clients when it comes to utilizing their technology for security. And so I've always been bullish on Palantir. They have some very, very large, long-standing contracts. And just think about this from a business perspective. Some companies have contracts with other companies that are like short, 3-month contracts, 2-month contracts, but the risk is higher. When you have a contract that's for 10 years, 20 years, guys, like, their services are going to be consistent for a long time. And for me, that's very, very bullish news. Now, I want to share something with you guys. Is I found it quite funny, because Palantir is a company that I invested in a while ago. Like I invested in Palantir a minute ago, and I want to share this with you because it's just a good depiction of like having a long-term mindset with investing, and not a short-term mindset, right? Often with crypto, we can really get stuck in that world. So check out this screenshot, right? Computer's a little bit slow. It's going to load up right now, but check out this screenshot. Is it loading up? All right, brilliant. So guys, look at this, right? And the proof is in the pudding. Like this is no cap. Look at this, right? Just check this. That was what, $700. So $700 of Palantir I bought in 2020. It was like 30 shares, right? 2020 November, $700. Now I'm gonna show you guys what not to do. Okay, so this was back in 6 years ago, by the way. And by the way, Palantir was booming. Like people were really, really, really talking about this company, and I really believed in it. But guess what? Guess what? I'm on Palantir on Yahoo Finance. You guys can see it's $144. I'm on the 5-year chart. Let me go to the order. Let me show you guys something. Guys, I got in this company when it literally almost just IPO'd. Like probably like 12, I don't know, like $14, $15. Guys, it's at 144. By the way, I sold it because I was an idiot. Like I sold it already like ages ago. But like, do you see what I'm saying? Like if I held those assets, if I thought 5, 6 years from now, where's this project gonna go? But I was 19, 20 years old. But the point is I don't want you guys to make the same mistake. Because if you think about it, that $700 I bought in 2020, for me, 6 months was a long time. I was like, oh, holding this asset for 6 months? Man, I'm gonna be like 20 years old in 6 months. Like that's too long, that's ages. But guys, I was not thinking, if I hold this for 5, 10 years, where am I gonna be? That's $700 times that by like 7 or 8. That's thousands. But I never kept it. I don't want you guys to make the same mistake. Don't look at $144 and go, oh my gosh, it's already booming. It's already gone. I mean, look, it's like 25% from all-time high. Yeah, too late. You're not too late, because 5 years from now, you're going to look back and go, oh my gosh, Palantir's $500. I wish I kept that asset in 2026. I was on crypto and assets, and Jean-Luc showed me what he did wrong. And you see what I mean? So I want you to really keep that in mind. So the final company is Paramount Media Studio. Now, the reason why Paramount, a couple of obvious things, guys. They have conducted a $110 billion acquisition of Warner Brothers. Not a merger, not two companies merging together, but acquisition. And so I'm really bullish on the entertainment industry, and especially when it's a company of the magnitude of Paramount, of Netflix, of Warner Brothers. And as you know, the revenue drivers, like they're subscription based. So yet again, people who are on a long-term subscription, that's a very positive thing for the business because it always produces some form of cash flow. So yeah, I want to end it there from my side, but the call's not done because we got massive game coming from my boy Gil. So I know he's going to dive over the charts. I know he's going to chime in with a couple of big pieces of information. So guys, Gil's been in the game for, like years on years. So I already know that you guys should definitely pay attention. And yeah, he's been my right-hand man for so long. So Gil, I'm going to pass it over to you, my guy.
Yes, sir, bro. Appreciate you for always coming on here and giving a major game. Honestly, the companies that he's talking about, everything that he's breaking down, I've said this multiple times, but a lot of people are not really going that deep. And that's the mission here with crypto and assets is every single Saturday, we're going to the news, we're going to the understanding, but not just the news and what's going on, but how it's actually changing things in the markets and how does it affect the markets? Because a lot of the things that are happening is a lot of the times, a big indicator on how you can take advantage. Now, on my segment, I'm going a little bit more off on the charts. I am going to talk about a couple of things that I've been seeing, and I'm not going to make it too long, but I do want to give you guys perspective because Lucas, was really good at going through the numbers, which is important, right? Looking at the perspective of financials or really just how the company is doing and what it's doing. Now, there's an other side to it, and honestly, it's been a benefit that for me, I started with trading and then went to an investing. So if you're a trader on the call, I'm here to let y'all know that you guys have an advantage than most people in crypto and stocks, because most people in crypto and stocks don't even ever look at a chart. They don't. They only look at the financials. They only look at the news. They never look at a chart, and the chart really tells you a lot of things already. And then having everything else on top of that, it just gives you that advantage that most people don't have. So the first thing I did want to talk about, because it's been on everybody's radar, Spirit has officially shut down. Literally, I saw a video at DFW, like there's literally nobody there, which is crazy. This is literally an end of an era, which also sucks because I had like a credit and I probably lost it. But I'll see what we can do. But other than that, that is something that just happened very recently. So if you were Fine Spirit, well, now it's the end of this. So maybe it could affect other different airlines in a positive way. We need to talk about that. Now I do want to talk about a little bit of its stock. Obviously this is like a penny stock. Spirit wasn't on like the NASDAQ or anything like that. It was more like a penny stock type of vibe. And it's crazy because shout out to Junior and Powerhouse. He actually called out Spirit here. He called out Spirit literally in our Discord, and this literally saw a 800% gain. And maybe like, what is that? Couple days. And the biggest reason why this happened, and just to give you guys perspective of the chart, is because there was the suspicion of Spirit being bought by somebody else, or just getting help financially. So that created a lot of bullishness, and that's something I've always known is you buy the rumor and you sell the news, right? You buy the rumor or something, and then when something either comes out or doesn't come out, it's actually a negative thing as well. So this actually pump happened before even the news came out, and then the news kind of everything else went down. So just to give you guys perspective, this is kind of what the chart looked like, and I'm not gonna spend too much time on here, but I want to give you guys talk about Spirit, an end of an era, and I'm interested to see what it's going to do for different airlines. Maybe we can go through that, but before we even do any of that, I do want to go into straight into crypto as well with y'all. And look at where I see the crypto markets in my perspective, what I can see coming, and kind of where we're dictating us as well, obviously, as your portfolio. Now, we start with Bitcoin, like I say, every single week, because Bitcoin is like the number one indicator because everything follows Bitcoin. And one thing I've been liking that I've been seeing, and I've been talking about this, is the fact that it's been staying above. One thing that we like to see in times like this is this, right? When you're looking at Bitcoin and you're looking at reaccumulation area, you like to see Bitcoin take its time. A lot of people like the volatility of Bitcoin and crypto, but in reality, for opportunities, you want to see this, right? When you start to see big ups and downs like this, for example, like I'll give you guys perspective here, right? When you start to see a market like this, where the market comes back and then goes and then really just takes off, that is not what we want to see, right? Right now, I think we're kind of like here. I would say here, just because this is like zoomed out compared to where we're at. Now, I'm very interested, okay, and I've been talking about this because I like to see both biases. I don't like to be biased on one side or the other. I'm really interested what this market is going to do up here. Okay. Why is that? Because if you're looking at the smaller time frame, so if we look at the daily, for example, the bigger time frame, or the weekly, right? If we look at the weekly and we look at market structure and just typical market structure, right? I want you guys to realize, let me do this. Boom, boom, boom. I want you to realize that we're actually on a downtrend, right? Literally since this time right here, we're actually been on a downtrend with Bitcoin on the weekly. Now on the monthly, we're bullish. On the monthly, we're bullish. And on the weekly, we are actually technically bearish. And then on the daily, we're actually bullish. Because why? Because the daily is more focused in, and you can see that the market has been creating higher highs and higher lows. So this is what we like to see. This is what we want to continue to see. But I'm interested what the market is going to do here, right? So my eyes are really here for Bitcoin around 90,000. I could definitely see this coming up here this summer and making the push. Now I'm interested in what's going to happen here. What we want to see really, I mean, it's something probably that we haven't seen in this structure is we want to see it to stay above, right? If we don't see this, I'm not going to lie to you. If this does this, I can personally see this happening. Okay. That just give you a different perspective. But I'm also going to tell you this. I don't know. The market is in a different stage that it's ever been. I'm interested to see where altcoins can be here, right? Because remember, Bitcoin is the main indicator, but the number one mover for altcoins is actually Ethereum. And same thing with Ethereum, right? Like, what do I want to see here? Here, I don't want to see rejection. I want to see maybe a little rejection, right? And then it not to reject heavy and then continue to stay above. In my opinion, for me to follow the altcoins, I am going to be following Ethereum more because I wouldn't be surprised if Ethereum actually breaks above and does its move while Bitcoin doesn't. Why is that, Gil? Because Bitcoin did this on its own. Bitcoin did this move on its own. It didn't do it with any altcoins. No altcoins have created all-time highs really, except for like Solana, only for a little bit, right? So I'm very interested to see that. Now, these are great times regardless of where we think is going. I personally believe that this is one of the best times in the markets that we have. There's a lot of different reasons for that. Number one is the stock market is booming as a whole, like indices, NAS, SPX, all that, even US 30. But realizing that some single companies are still lagging behind that. And I think crypto is lagging behind it as well. I'm very interested for this year, but I want to give you guys perspective when it comes to the charts. So when you're looking at the charts, you're looking at the financials or you're looking at like what is a good crypto, what is not. Once you already know, like you like the investment, you want to start asking yourself, okay, very simple terms. Is this market on the low side of the market or is this market on the high side of the market? Right? I want you all to realize, and we've talked about it on these sessions, most people buy at the tops of the markets. Why? Because of emotion, right? They buy at the top of the markets because people are getting in. People are excited. And we're taught that. We're taught when something goes up, you buy it. When something goes down, you sell it, which is complete opposite of what you want to do as an investor, right? You want to invest when most people aren't investing, and you want to sell when most people are investing. It's like literally the complete opposite of society. And honestly, that's a lot of things with life as well, just FYI. But right now, we can say that Ethereum is definitely on the low side of this market, right? If we were to create a box, this is simple terms, right? I create a box of where was the low of the market. This is the low of the market. Right now, we're a little bit above it, but we're still in this reasonable area. Now, do I like Ethereum around 2000? Yes, I do. But realistically, I also believe in the lower price doesn't always happen, right? Like when you always look for a lower price, most of the time it runs without you. So this is my piece of advice. If you're looking to start your crypto portfolio and you don't know what to do, start with a budget, right? Start with a budget. What is that budget going to be, right? Even if you have a lot of capital, like I'm not going to lie to y'all, I am going to be getting heavier in crypto and stocks than I've ever had in probably my career. And I'm not going to be getting in all at once. It doesn't suit me the best. Why? Because at the same time, we cannot control where the markets are at, but also because I'm looking at the markets on a day-to-day basis, I can give myself those gaps. I can give myself getting in. Because you got to think about it, right? When not me, right? But when you have somebody that has 5 million, 10 million, 20 million, 30 million, $100 million, I'm being honest, most of them are not getting in full amount of their net worth in the market, like day one, right? They do what we call scaling in, right? And why is that important in my opinion? Why is that better long term? because it takes off the emotional side of the market. Because if you get in today, right? If you were to, for example, buy Ethereum and want to get in today, and then tomorrow it goes down, but you only put in a part of your crypto that you're going to get in. Well, guess what? You have more crypto to get in next week. So you might even be happier because you're like, oh my God, I'm getting at a cheaper rate, right? So these things are important, and something that you want to really keep your eyes open with, and keep very like honest with as well, right? Is the power of scaling in. Lagging a little bit. Okay, cool. The power of scaling in. So for example, if you have an amount of like 2,000 that you want to get into crypto, personally, why not divide that 2,000 by 500 a week and say, okay, I'm going to be scaling in for the next 4 weeks, and I'm going to be scaling into the cryptos that are in my area, right? In my DCA area. Shout out to Zenra Ideas. If you guys not have the app downloaded or using it for the exchange side, I highly recommend it, because guess what? They give us zones, right? They've already given us a zone of Chainlink below $10, right? That is a zone that they've given us. Actually really below $13 and $14 is what they gave us. So this is something that, as long as it's in the zone, you can accumulate, right? Aave, something I've been talking about, under $100 in the zone, right? But then you might have cryptos that are not in your zone, right? That already are making maybe a push, and you might want to be a little more patient for it, depending on what you're looking at. But most of these are, so it's bad to give an example. I guess you can say like Ethereum is a good example. Like Ethereum is not in my zone specifically, is not at 2,000 or less. Bitcoin, same thing. It's not in my zone. My zone is really around the 65 or below area. If it does, and if it doesn't, oh, it's fine. But you want to keep that in mind. Number one, create a zone. Number two, create a budget. And then whenever you have that budget, now you start getting into your zones. So for example, this week I accumulated Aave, I accumulated Chainlink, and I accumulated Ondo. Why did I do that? All of these are in my zone, right? Ondo's about to actually exit my zone, but Ondo is in my zone, right? All of these cryptos are in my zone. Now, Ondo is something I haven't talked about. It's a RWA, real world assets. They have a lot of partnerships with things like Chainlink. They're a boring projects. That's something I think I'm going to be investing a lot more in crypto, is boring projects. Maybe more exciting projects when it comes to stocks, because, there's a lot of different aspects there. But that's something to really look into as well. Now, when it comes to the stock side, and actually I did want to pull this up for Chainlink, right? Chainlink literally recently had one of the biggest outflows since December, which is interesting, right? This literally says, although the broad crypto market is experiencing a sharp slowdown, its recent rally, Chainlink has remained in demand among both retail and institutional investors. One thing I realized is that in every market, I'm not going to say like monopoly, but there's like alphas, right? I personally believe Chainlink, Aave are alphas in the DeFi world, and really just for the blockchain as a whole, mostly Chainlink. Because remember, Chainlink is providing the data behind everything now. And data is huge. John Luke talked about project with data. Data right now is so major in so many things, and in crypto more than ever. And for institutions, even bigger. So that's something to keep in mind. Now, when it comes to stocks, I want to go through a couple of things that I've been looking at, other than what John Luke was talking about. The first thing is Roku. It's not something I've started accumulating yet, because I've been waiting. But I do want to talk about this project because it's a project that most people aren't talking about, but we all either use it or know somebody who uses it. I would ask yourself, who do you know in your family that has a Roku TV? A lot, right? Roku became very big in 2020, obviously because of COVID. But one thing I've realized is that looking at Roku's financials, fam, number one is that it came down here and it was sitting out here for a while. Number two is that their financials have been very bullish, very profitable in the last couple of years. And they've just been building, and they've been actually starting to get into the streaming world, where they're actually providing like Roku TV now. So I kind of think about them like competitors to like TV, which is something that again is bullish for the project. I really liked this project here, but I unfortunately wasn't buying crypto here. But right now, it created a huge bullishness because of the earnings it just gave. So here on TradingView, you can even see the earnings, and it had a surprise. It had above what they believed in earnings and what they believed in revenue as well, which is really good. And this created a huge jump for this project literally in the last month or so leading up to it. But this created a jump of earnings. Now, can I see this project come a little bit below and then keep going? Yes, I can. Everything has, ups and downs. So I personally believe this is a bullish, but this can actually come back maybe to the 100s, low 100s. That's kind of where I would be looking at. I'm not going to be looking for anything lower just because I just think it's very high in demand, very good financials. And remember, these are things that people are using. That is one thing I like about stocks is that when you ask yourself about stocks, ask yourself, what are you using? For example, me and my wife watch Netflix, right? Every time I watch Netflix, it's funny because I literally told her this. I actually felt bad. I didn't have a stock. And now I do, right? Now I do. So this is something you want to ask yourself. Whatever you're using, do you own the stock? Because if you're using it, I can guarantee other people are using it. And if other people are using it, then obviously that means people are buying it, which means the company is doing something, something right? So it's something to really look at. Janice says we bought Roku at 54. Yeah, that's amazing. I love it. I love it. That was a snipe. I recommend to hold that to like at least 200. And then take your profits and keep moving forward. That's gonna be fire play that most people are not in, by the way, which is dope. But yeah, so looking at things that you already use, things like Netflix. If you use Paramount, maybe you haven't even noticed you use Paramount, but you do. Like if you're a soccer fanatic, the Champions League is on Paramount now. CBS, anything that's CBS Sports is actually Paramount, which is crazy, right? Then you have things like Disney, right? Disney is something that for a while, it was not doing much. Like literally since 2022, it hasn't done much. But one thing I really like about Disney right now is their financials. Their financials are really good. It's an A-rated stock, honestly. And then their earnings just came out really good as well. Or actually, the earnings are about to come out. Actually, their earnings are coming out May 6th. So I'm interested to see. This is going to be a good indication on where this is going to go, and what it's going to do. But most of the time, this whole time, actually, no, look, it had a negative surprise in 2025, 2026 to start. Like basically, this is a report from like December of 2025. It was bullish. But yeah, I'm interested. I personally like this going on the upside. I saw this kind of, very simple. Market came down, broke structure, right? Market came down, but came up, broke structure, came down, and came into our area, which I was looking to accumulate here. And I started to accumulate around $100. So that's another one. And you wouldn't want to ask for things like HIMS. HIMS is something I've been looking at. I'm giving you guys examples of ones that you guys can kind of look at tangibly. Is HIMS. HIMS and hers. I don't know if you guys have seen the commercials of HIMS. It's been some weird commercials too about like, the some other things. But there's health stuff and then there's other things as well, which I guess is health as well. But it's something that has been kind of creating a lot of buzz because of the fact that it's very easy to get and get prescribed things. And they already have a lot of things that you have to get prescriptions for, and they already have it. And it's all e-commerce. They're like an e-commerce thing. So it's very popular. Again, it first got popular in 2025, in 2026, 2025, it hits its highs. But right now, I really like these. I believe it's an A-rated stock, if I'm not mistaken. It's something that Patrick Kenny's been talking about pretty heavily, and Max Sotero as well. I kind of like this rejection, but I do want to see what it does a little bit lower because their earnings don't come out to 11th of May. So can we see this come in this little gap below $25? I mean, it's not going to make too much of a difference, a couple dollars, but I am looking into HIMS myself, not because I use it at all, but because it's something that people are using because, again, people want as easy as possible access to medication. That's really just the world we're living in. So there's a company that's taking advantage of that with different ways. Another one I actually started to DCA into is PayPal. PayPal might not be something you use on a day-to-day basis, but it's something that is being used and has been used for a very long time. And it's came out of our area of 42. And I really like this rejection. I didn't enter here at all, which was obviously the snipe. But I wanted to see what this was going to do. And I really like the rejection it's giving. Honestly, I really do like it. And what it's doing right now. Again, the earnings come out May 5th. So, guys, the earnings this month can be very bullish or it can be very bearish. So, stay very posted. I'm confident that it's very bullish because a lot of these companies, the US as a whole is bullish. I want you guys to realize that. Like, you go to the mall, you go to the airport, it's like they're packed. Like, literally, Coachella, I don't even know too much about Coachella, but Coachella was packed, right? Coachella is not cheap. So what does that mean? There's money in the economy. Okay. Don't let the, outsourcers show you, oh my God, the economy is going down. Like, yes, the gas is up, but guess what? People still paying for gas. Right? Like, it's not like people aren't paying for gas. That means there's still money, right? So that means that people are spending their money, which goes into the economy. So I'm pretty bullish in the economy. I think 2026 is going to be an upside. And then 2027 could really create the push that we've been waiting for. And also could be the tops that we've been waiting for. Maybe, if not, maybe 2028. So all I'm going to say is this, fam, is we do have time, but at the same time, low prices don't always have a lot of time. The market has time, but the market where it's at is at a really good position for you to start getting literally focused with the investing side of your journey. If you're trading, that's amazing. But I highly recommend to start taking investing serious. If you're a part of Powerhouse, a part of Zinrai, go into the sessions with Mike Terrell, Patrick Kenny, even Mambo on the crypto side now that we have on Sundays. Start to plug in and ask questions and create that budget for yourself and start to scale in. The amount doesn't matter. Like, literally, I started a Robinhood not too long ago because, like I told y'all, I'm newer to stocks, but I've been studying stocks for a whole year. And now I'm confident in actually executing. And you can buy partials of a share. It's crazy, right? Like, so you don't have to even have the whole amount. But just keep in mind the smaller ones have a lot of the opportunities. Like Snapchat, for example, has a big opportunity. So if you have a low amount to invest in, look at the smaller ones I talked about. Look at Snapchat. Look at Paramount that John talked about as well. Look at Klarna that we've been talking about, which is like Afterpay, right? Debts. Debt is the best commodity right now, which is how the U.S. is kind of ran. Well, other countries have actually benefited from U.S. debt, by the way. But anyways, look at those, right? Look at the opportunities of HIMS and what can see in your portfolio and take that step at a time. Because remember, you're not going to get rich and wealthy off of one run. It's going to be decades of runs and capitalizing. But the first one is the first one you need to take. Because if you don't take that first step in this journey, when it comes to investing, you never will, and the time will only go by, right? So with saying that, that's it for me. I just want to give a little glimpse of what we're looking at. I think this month is going to be a really good indicator where we're going to see crypto, where we're going to see stocks. So stay very attention with the markets. Myself and Jean-Luc are going to be planning some things. So I know it's been a long time coming, but I'm excited because we would definitely want to give this more of a resource. We want to give more game on here and also education in certain things that we know that a lot of people don't know as well. So with saying that, again, you guys have a great night, great day, actually. You guys have a great Saturday, great weekend, and I'll see you guys next week on this session. And if you're in Powerhouse, I see you in the